Happy Halloween, boys and girls and children of all ages. My name is Aaron, and welcome back to my channel, NYC Aaron NYC Artist. I know it's been a while. I've been very busy with my outside life between teaching and also I was taking a digital art course that lasted about 6 weeks. So a lot of my focus has been on that and also teaching at one of my daughter's schools. I don't want to say which school just in case, but you know, just I'm trying to keep it separate so this way I don't interfere with her school life. So, what was this digital art course that I was taking? All right, so in August, I got this email about this man who was his name was David Belliver, and he was a teacher who had this art course on this website called Paintable. So I was listening to it and I was very intrigued. Apparently my wife had taken one of his courses and said, yeah, take his course. Trust me, I took it. It was, of course, it was expensive at the time. I really didn't have the money for it. But I told myself, you know what? If you want to improve, you're going to have to spend the money to improve. If you want to grow and hopefully start doing freelance work, you want to and have people buy your artwork, you're going to have to improve. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to pull the trigger. I decided to take a 6-week course, and I have to say it was the most interesting, fun. It pushed me. I had fun taking this course. It actually made me forget about everything that was going on in my life. And I have to say it helped me improve it put another notch, improved my skills dramatically. I know, like I said, I've been drawing for years, like over 20 years, but, between working and everything else, I never really spent that much time on the computer, and especially when it comes to coloring. And taking this course had opened me up so much to the point where I knew where, if I needed something, where to look, how to set things up, how to set the scene up. I already knew how to set the scene up in my head, but when it comes to putting it down on the computer, it was just coming like in waves. And also the style that they use, that a lot of digital artists have been using, is actually something I've been using myself in my past when I was a textile designer for over 20 years. And even those who were using Photoshop when it started for textile design, we've been using this process for over 20, 30 years. So what was this process that a lot of digital artists have been using that I've used? Well, it's a grayscale process in coloring. In my case, for us textile designers and color separators, we actually, when we're color separating, after we design something, we actually color separate and then place it in a grayscale. So for those of you who are wondering what's grayscale, take black and then take white, and it's basically all the tones in between. So from 100% black till 0, which is white. And that's how we set up our projects taken in the Paintable course. We basically did everything in grayscale. But the funny thing is that sometimes you don't want to use 100% black. But I found out there was a workaround that, which I didn't know. Hence I said, I'm glad I took this course, because there was a lot of things that I was like, oh, I didn't think about doing that to like mute some of the black. So when I have my colors and so it doesn't look muddy. Oh, I didn't realize that I can do this. I didn't realize I can do that. From looking at a lot of the other artists that were doing grayscale, some said don't, others were doing it. They really didn't go into much detail unless you bought their course and whatnot, which I was like, oh, I really didn't have the money. But in this case, maybe that one part, that one aspect of it was probably in their course, and I just never, because I never bought it, I didn't know. But in this case, now I know. I'm like, oh, okay. And working in grayscale actually works, ladies and gentlemen. For someone who, like I said, I'm a color separator. Working in grayscale works if, one, you want to do something in a lot of colorways, especially if it's a design pattern. You want to do something in a lot of colorways because you want to know if you do something in one color, is the tones too strong, whereas if you do it in another color, is the tones too weak. In that case, you have to come up with a middle ground. Do you boost up the light end tones, or do you lower the high end tones? So your high end tones will be anything above 50. Your low end tones will be anything below 50. And that's what I would do. Once I did my initial color separation, I would give it to the stylist, and then they will tell me, "Oh, Aaron, this in this colorway it comes up too strong, but yet in this colorway it comes up too weak. Can we find a middle ground?" And I'm like, "All right, well, give me the colors and that you use, and let me see what I come up with." And sometimes within an hour, sometimes 3 hours, depending on what my workload was, I would give them something that says, "Well, what's this? Is this comparable, or would you want to go back to the original?" In which case, 9 times out of 10, they will want to keep what I did. The other times, it'll be like, and then, they'll discuss it. Can we live with this? Can we live without it? And then it'll be like, well, let's try a different color. Sometimes they'll change the color. Like, all right, you know what? Just leave it with the original. We like how it pops in this colorway. And maybe we'll save what you did later, and then if it doesn't work, which happens. Sometimes it's a 50-50 game where what I change, the new version actually decided to go with that one, and the old version just didn't work because it was just, maybe it was too vibrant. Maybe they wasn't looking for a vibrant look, and the colors they used to try to mute it didn't work. And it happens, especially with wall covering. Same thing. Especially when you're dealing with metallics, you always want solid colors, but sometimes you might say, "Hey, I want to put a metallic in there, even though it's tonal, just to give it that, like, it's metallic, but is it metallic look in there?" Also, like I said, I've been teaching. So this episode is really about, I wanted this episode to be about using past skills to help you in your current life, depending on where you're at right at this minute. So what does that mean? 22 years ago, so 1995, I was a cashier for 4 years. And then after I graduated college, I, did odds and ends freelance work. And then for like about 2-3 years, I was a administrative assistant at this insurance company. So I did office work. And then from there, I had my first textile design job. So I was doing a shower curtain tabletops. And then from there, I was color separation. And then my next job, I was more of a full-time color separator. And then my next job, when I went into Jersey, I was more of a designer / color separator, but less color separating and more designing. So and then COVID hit. I became a school teacher. Now, during that time as a color separator working in Manhattan, then doing a designer in Jersey, I was also taking martial arts. So I went from a student to an instructor at the school that I train at. So, I have my Sifus, who, if you don't know, Sifus mean teacher. And, sometimes I'll teach a class or I'll teach a group, I'll take a group of kids with me or a group of adults, depending on what the class is and depending on the class size. And I would instruct them based off my Sifus, like, okay, they need to know X, Y, and Z. I'll go through that. Or sometimes I'll have the whole class and teach them something that right then and there. So teaching martial arts, now I'm in the classroom, even though we're not doing physical work, it's a lot of mental work. So now in this aspect, it's more, I would say it's more 99% mental, 1% physical, because we're not really doing nothing physically, but I'm engaging them mentally. So right now I am teaching 7th grade science. It's very interesting because before I was basically teaching 2 classes, but I was more of the co-teacher. Now I am the lead teacher for four out of the 6 classes. So 4 of the classes, it's just me and these kids. The other 2 classes, I'm actually working with another teacher, and she's the lead. And I'm just there to assist. It's been very good. It's been very interesting. Teaching both my daughters went there, but one graduated. One is her freshman year. And it's been very interesting because my oldest, her teachers, when they found out that I was a substitute teacher, they were like, "Oh, if you need any help, let us know. We can help." And I was like, "Thanks." They see me in and they're like, "You're here?" I'm like, "Yeah, there was a thing. I took it, seeing as I'm not too far from the school." They're like, "Cool." And, they've been excellent helping me out. They've asked how my oldest is doing. I've been telling them she's great. She's making friends. She's doing this and that and everything else. I also told them about some stuff that happened. They sitting there scratching it. They're like, "I wouldn't think that would happen." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I said." But it's been a fun ride there. I know my last day is the week before school goes on Christmas break. So I'm hoping that something happens where they say, "Hey, can you stay for the rest of the year?" That'll be great. If not, it's understandable. But using things that you have, using skills that you learned in your past. Like I've told my 7th and 8th graders from my previous school that I was working at, I'm a man who has worn many hats. And I am grateful that I have worn many hats, and those skills that I have learned has helped me, whether it's dealing with customers or dealing with people as a whole. Like I said, my very first job was a cashier, so of course those who are cashiers, you get all sorts of people, right? And from people who are nice and calm and understanding to people who are just like straight up Karens or Kevins or just irate. I think 75% of people I've dealt with was irate due to the fact that, where I worked at and how, let's just say, what the demographics were. And after I graduated college, I did a whole bunch of temp work. Like my first temp art job, it was working as a production assistant, pretty much putting things together. I guess you can say a production assistant or a traffic something. It was something weird. I forgot the name, what they called it, but pretty much I was working with an ad agency, and I guess we were doing all the prep work for what they were going to do at a show. I did that during the summer. I made some great money. I was down the block from the tunnel. For those of you who remembers the tunnel, for those of you who live outside New York, the tunnel was a club. It was one of the clubs in New York City in the 90s and early O's. I forgot when it shut down, but it shut down due to like the owner was involved with a lot of drugs and stuff like that. He had owned like a couple of clubs, and he was just following drugs through a lot of them, from what I understand. And it was just great. And then from there, like I said, I ended up working at this insurance company where I was just an administrative assistant working. Yeah, it wasn't art, but I was getting money in my pocket. At the same time, I was going back to school just to brush up on my Photoshop skills and illustration skills just to get a job. I was always drawing. I was just trying to get better. Then I ended up getting a job at this shower curtain tabletop place out in Brooklyn, which I will not name due to X, Y, and Z. I worked there for 2 years, and then I ended up getting a job at this place called Transprint USA, which was a fabric place, pretty much as a color separator. Hence, this goes back into the class we did where we did everything in Greyscale. So there I learned how to be a color separator. There I learned that you do everything in Greyscale, and then you put the colors you want to put in just to see what's going to go wrong. And of course, there we didn't really do a lot of colorways. So for those who are wondering, what's a colorway? So think of it this way. A colorway would be you take the one pattern and you put it in different colors. So that might be colorway 1. Then you create another colorway, you do it in different colors. That's colorway 2. Most places will have up to 26, 27, 30 different colorways, sometimes even more. And then from there, they may say, okay, we're going to knock this down to 12 different colorways. And, they'll look at everything. Oh, we like this, we like that. We might like this color from colorway 16. Let's put 3 of these colors in color 16 and color 15 to see how it works. But at the same time, you always have to work from light to dark. So that's where things get interesting. So I like this, but this is too big. Can we knock this out and put it in this colorway since all these colors are dark to see how it looks? So it's a lot of a mix and match. And sometimes with stylists, what they'll do is they'll have a trend board with different colors where they're getting their ideas from. That's one of the things that we did with this class I took. We had to actually create a trend board to give us ideas. So in my case, I did Little Red Riding Hood, and I created a trend board to give me ideas. Okay, I want to use maybe this in one, and I just did thumbnails. I did like 15 thumbnails, but I ended up choosing 6. And from those 15 thumbnails, sometimes I combined stuff, and I had 6 thumbnails to show. There was one I really liked, and I stuck with that one, and that was one that everyone likes. The only aspect of the when I finished it that got me was that I was having an issue with the font. Like, I didn't really know which font to use to make it, I was going for that a little scary, creepy vibe, but some people liked it, some people didn't. So it's like one of those where I was on the fence with it. And then as I was going through the last part of the class and looking at the stuff, I realized, like, yeah, I think I took this as far as I can. So for my digital illustrators out there, sometimes when you're working on something, he says, oh man, I think I took this as far as I can. Then you took it as far as you can. Don't feel bad. If people say, hey, we like it, then just leave it. Back to what I was saying about as a color separator. Now, we do the colorways. Now, when I went to my new job, which was J. Josephson out in Jersey, I was a custom designer. So pretty much I did custom work there, and it was the same thing, Sometimes I would create things from scratch, and it would be in Grayscale. Actually, I always started in Grayscale, because this way, when I'm ready to put my colors in, I can put my color in later. So, but at least this way, I can see what it is that I was working with. Sorry, I was taking a drink there. And it was the same principle. But in this case, I would say 90% was designing from the ground up, and 10% was color separation. Due to the fact that it was hard. There was hardly there was maybe 1 or 2 clients where I actually had to color separate the job from scratch and create the repeat and make sure I just checked the tracking, nothing was weird, and everything else. Those are the times when I actually had to color separate from scratch. Because the way they had manufactured it. So they may have manufactured it by putting it together through sewing or pasting or whatnot, and then they says, okay, we want to print it for cost reasons. So then I would scan it, separate it, and work from there. That's where all my skills coming from the past. I mean, there was one point where I almost had a job because of our work that transferred in USA, but because I was missing the skill, I didn't get it, and I was always crossing my fingers, hoping that they would call me back and saying, hey, do you want to still work here? But of course that never happened, and it's understandable. I don't fault them for that. Maybe it wasn't going to be a good fit and whatnot, so that's understandable. That's also another thing. Don't be mad if you get the interview and it doesn't go right, because it might be that you don't fit with their team. They may have a certain team where you don't fit. Maybe you don't have a certain skill that they need, or you may have the skills but you just don't fit. And I mean, I've heard stories where people say, yeah, it's great, and then they work in it, they're like, yeah, this isn't working out because of, maybe it's just not a good fit, because of personalities and whatnot. And it happens. Right now, though, I am doing a freelance job, which I will mention towards the end of this video. But right now, I just want to talk about the Old Warrior. Now, I know I've been working on this for a long time, but when I started taking this class, I actually went back and made changes to the design in Grayscale, because everything I learned from that class, I was actually started to apply to the Old Warrior, the male version. And I realized, like, whoa, this actually helped me improve the coloring in here, because now, especially when it comes to lighting and shadows and everything else, like, I understood it, but taking the paintable class, I really understood it. I mean, there's a couple other things I understood that I have to go back just to re-watch. That now I understand when it also comes to coloring, and I'm working on that part. But with practice, and then with everything else, I know that I'm gonna get great at it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video here, let you look at this process, and then towards the end, I'm going to come back and I'm going to explain what I'm actually working on besides being a science teacher right now. So enjoy the video. I'm going to put some music up so that, you can listen to some cool music. Maybe you want to dance with your wife or your husband or whoever your spouse is. And I'll see you in a bit. Hey folks, so welcome back. If you made it this far, then you're ready to hear some good news. So, like I said, I've been working on something. My wife has started a publishing company called Blue Beaver Publishing. What this publishing company does is that it helps authors pretty much get their book published. And if you're looking for a someone to do your cover, well, that's what she does. She basically helps authors get covers working with other artists. Right now, I'm helping her with her first client and developing the first cover, along with some inside material that you may any pretty much anything art related. That's what she does. Also with coaching and helping you out in getting through the steps. So the website once again is bluebeaver.com. Bluebeaverpublishing.com. The link for it will be posted on at the bottom of the description in my YouTube page, where you can go check it out. So anybody who's an author, future authors, current authors, take a look. Give her a chance to work with you, and maybe I'll be working on your cover for your book. So I hope you like what you see. Like I said, a lot of things that I've learned from that class, I have placed into the old man. So I have been adding things, working on my shadows, on my highlights. I've actually done something which I never thought about doing, was buying certain paint brushes to help me with my paintings. So, like when it comes to leaves and textures and rocks and stuff like that, I've been buying those, and I've realized like, wow, these are handy. And I can understand why people buy these things to help them with their artwork, instead of just sitting there drawing. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you still should have those skills to draw those things out, which I don't want to lose those things. I don't want those things to get put to sideline. But until I completely finish up setting up my office, that's how it is. So right now my art desk is is on the other side of the room and not next to my computer desk, which I wanted it. But until I have everything set up the way I want it, that's where it is right now. So I just have to deal with it. But anyways, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you liked the Red Riding Hood, the little Red Riding Hood design that I did, it is up for sale on Redbubble. Redbubble is one of three websites I use to sell my artwork. The others are ArtStation, and the other one is Display. Display, I tend to be more for like fan art, but like anime fan art and stuff like that. ArtStation is stuff that I just create on my own, where I know I just want this to be for artwork to be in someone's office. And Redbubble is just a slew of things, where if you want to do postcards, mouse pads, laptop covers, just a slew of whole bunch of stuff. That's where I normally put certain artworks on. I decided to put it on Redbubble because I figured, since they have books, which are journals, they do sell journals and spiral books. So I figured if someone might like Little Red Riding Hood, they might want it on a book. It's not the story, but it'll be on a book, where in that book you can take notes of different things. So this way you can say, hey, I got a Little Red Riding Hood stuff. Maybe that's not what you want to see, but I do have other stuff on there. So if there's something that you like, take a look at it, and I will see you next time. Peace.